afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Again, sorry to disappoint. Maybe one day I'll be interviewing like some major person on my channel. You never know. Crazier things have happened, right? Okay, so let's just talk about real quick this report, this 99-page report that has come out about the Moab Police Department and the handling of the traffic stop that they made with Gabby, Petito, and Brian Laundrie on that afternoon in Utah. Now, they were seen arguing outside of the Moonflower Co-op. They got into their van eventually and drove off, and Brian was driving a little bit erratically, and they were subsequently pulled over for this. At the same time, though, 911 calls were coming in about a man who witnessed Gabby and Brian fighting outside and said that Brian had hit Gabby. And this is where it's interesting, because that was never brought up when police eventually did pull them over, and the officer who was questioning Gabby was asking her questions. He never once pinned it down as to, we got a call from a concerned, Good Samaritan or whatever, that he hit you. So tell me about that. And if they had asked that exact question, they may have gotten a different answer, because this is what I believe. This is what I think happened. Now, they have been said to have made some unintentional mistakes during this stop, and we have all seen just the fact that they were let go. We have all thought that that was a mistake, correct? However, the way Brian and Gabby presented themselves and the information that they gave made Gabby look like the aggressor. And I think at the time, the police officers that were there, they didn't want to arrest her for domestic violence. They did not see her as being a threat to Brian. And they felt bad. And they've even said that they felt bad, and that's partially why they didn't charge her with that and arrest her. Now, one of the unintentional mistakes that they're talking about being made here is that they did not arrest her, because they had the admission from her that she had hit him and he had marks on his face. And so technically, and I don't want to say this, but had it been flipped around the other way, they would have probably made an arrest. Saying is, if it were Brian who hit Gabby, but which he did. Now this is where I'm gonna say something, but I feel like they would have arrested him. Possibly, I don't know, but the fact that the female was the aggressor, and she was behaving the way that she was behaving, I think that they didn't really find her to be a threat to him. Therefore, they allowed them to, separate for the evening, but basically be on their way. And here's the thing. Anyone who analyzes Gabby and Brian during this body cam footage can definitely see a demeanor of the two. You can see Brian, you can see his demeanor as being kind of just cocky, kind of flippant, very cool, calm, collected, and then you see Gabby just a hot mess, admitting all sorts of faults that she has, and basically putting the blame on herself. That is standard in a relationship that is having some sort of domestic issues. It's standard for the one partner to be completely seemingly irrational and upset and blaming themselves for everything because they've been told by their abuser or their aggressor that they are the reason that this shit happens. They are the reason that their partner's getting angry and having to flip out and having to do these things, such as lock them out of their own vehicle, which for Gabby, that van, that wasn't just her vehicle, that was her home. She's hundreds, thousands of miles away from home where her family is, and she's living out of this van. And it's her van. She purchased it, and he's keeping her from it. So she's in the middle of nowhere with nobody else but Brian and her van and her home. And he's essentially in her home, keeping her from getting in her home. And she's feeling she's going to be left here alone without her things and her house. And, you know, and you really have to look at it for what it is. So they didn't arrest her. Technically, they should have arrested her. Would this have made a difference? I don't know. I definitely think it would have made it more difficult for them to be together. However, in this situation, the fact that he escalated to actually putting his hands on her to the point where she no longer could live, that was just waiting to happen if they were to stay in a relationship together, I feel. It's kind of like a ticking time bomb, and I feel that their whole relationship became a ticking time bomb at some point, and some point long before that, this incident. You hear from her really good friend, that Rose, that she said that there were times when she could tell he was controlling, and one time in particular they were going out to go to a bar together, and she realized that her ID wasn't there, and he told her he took it so that she couldn't go to the bar, and because he didn't want her going there. And, you know, that was a controlling thing that he had done that kind of set off a little red flag in her friend Rose. And, you know, but really there's only so much a family can say, or friends can say. And they're not seeing bruises on her. They're not seeing anything. She's certainly not saying anything. And so it's like it becomes that fine line of do you say something more? And here we have a man making a 911 call saying that this man is hitting this woman, and yet it's never brought up during the traffic stop to even give her some sort of a feeling of safety that she can say, actually, yeah, he did. He hit me, you know? And I'm not saying that she would have admitted to it. It seems that she was very, very concerned with getting him in any type of trouble. And in her mind, she was the reason that they were pulled over. She was the reason that this was happening. And it was her fault that she was even hit to begin with, because she's mean and she has OCD and she's anxious and she's stressed. She's giving you all these reasons to believe that this girl is in trouble. And they are now, the police have been made, the whole force has been made to start taking domestic violence training, more training than what they had originally had to spot these things out. And everybody should have an understanding. And that's pretty much the only reason that I am making this video right now, is justice for Gabby. And in Gabby's case, justice for anyone who is being abused and putting out signals that people just aren't reading right. You know, they're not reading the signals right. And, you know, domestic abuse doesn't always look like a female, you know, crying and bruised and battered and upset, and this big guy towering over her, yelling at her, screaming at her, hitting her. It doesn't always look like that. There's not always bruises. There's not always marks. But you can tell in someone's personality. You can tell when it changes. You know, as someone who's normally happy-go-lucky, and now all of a sudden they're stressed out and anxious and just freaking out all the time and crying and sad and, you know, always blaming themselves for everything or apologizing a lot. You know, there's things, and then you see the dynamic together, you know, where he was very just like, you know, he's fist bumping the cops and stuff. It's like terrible. So yeah, I really didn't want to go into it too much. I have not read this report at all. It is 99 pages long, and they always say the devil's in the detail, right? So the only thing I've seen of it is the first page, and it's basically just what I just told you. They admit that there's been some mistakes unintentionally made, and, you know, ultimately the question is, had those mistakes not been made, would Gabby still be alive today? And we can't say that. We can speculate in hindsight that yes, she would be, because they would have been separated. She would have been arrested. She would have been put into jail. Someone would have had to pay bail. The families would start to ask questions at this point and say, you know what, I don't think you guys should be going on this trip together. Like, you know, you guys need to separate for a bit. Law enforcement would have had to separate them. You know, a contact order would go into place and everything. It would have made it very difficult for them to continue their trip together. That's for damn sure. So it would have definitely bought time, and hopefully some awareness to her family as to what was going on, because I'm sure she would have probably opened up to her family at that point. What, you know, and another thing is they never got an incident report from that 911 caller. They do not have the full incident report from that, and that would have made a huge difference as well. However, when you're staying with someone who's abusive, you are running a risk of eventually becoming a statistic, and it is so terribly difficult for people to leave these relationships that most people would never understand how hard it can be. And the longer that you are with that person, the more difficult it is to get out. And we really need to spread more awareness about this. So as always, you know, justice for Gabby, we need to find it. I think we're getting very close. That notebook, I don't know if the parents are ever going to release that, you guys. I don't know. I would say no if you asked me off the bat, and my quick answer would be no. However, I also think that if he wrote a lot of negative things about Gabby and it being her fault, they may possibly release it in order to kind of make him not look so bad. Then again, they haven't cooperated with anything, so you know, who knows what they're gonna do. But you know, hopefully we do get some answers, and we can they can say without a doubt that Brian Laundrie caused the death of Gabby Petito, and they can at least have the justice of that. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. You don't have to like what I'm talking about, as far as it is. A lot of I talk about true crime. I talk about horrific experiences. I talk about death. I talk about, you know, and you don't have to like, you know, that these things are happening. But if you like the video, as in like how I talk about it, or, you know, the work that I've done to kind of to make everything make sense for you, then please like, please subscribe. I am hoping to, at some point, get monetized, because I'm doing everything off my phone, and I do realize that my editing could be better. My clips could be better. My sound could be better. I got a mic. It doesn't work. It works horribly, actually. I did one video on it and I listened to it. It sounds terrible. It's a couple videos back. You could probably tell there's a total difference in sound. It's that mic. I don't know. I'm trying, you guys. But anyway, did I pop that tangent thing up yet? It's up now. All right, talk to you guys later. Thank you so much, and love you all, and have a great day.